Mini episode 627 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by that NBA Lottery Pick, your pop culture influenced look at the world of hoops. Follow them on the web at that NBALotteryPick.com.
The FDH Lounge. You want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
All right, everybody, welcome to FDH Lounge number 627, our mini episode today. This is kind of old school. Rick Morris kicking it with Jake Digman. We've done this previously on the program, and harkening back to the earliest days of the show with the actual episodes, not mini episodes, but where we'd be going one segment into another and all over the place and random. And Jake is one of the few guys that I can really do this with, so we are broadcasting here today. We got a number of different subjects to hit, Jake, any number of them that we could touch on.
That is true, and welcome to my happy, humble abode. If you look outside, it's fall, and
yes.
you can't see this because it's radio, but if you could see this, it's a beautiful, picturesque landscape. My backyard is a metro park. So
it really is, yes.
It's kind of cool.
The Summit Metro Park's here. I've always marveled at this. This is a beautiful sunroom here overlooking a scenic park area. Yes, very privileged to be in these fine environs here today, Jake.
If you're in the Ohio area, I recommend check out your local metro park. It's a natural beauty that is all around you that people don't take the time to take a look at. Nature, it's a beautiful thing. Unless you tick it off, then it destroys stuff. But
yeah.
Right now, nature's our friend, so.
Yeah, it is. Well, I don't know if you saw this weekend, but some of the attempts to do qualifying at the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, wrong place, wrong time, just like what we were talking about off air with something else.
Did not see that, but I felt bad for the people down in Mexico. I don't know what's going on down there. I haven't done the follow-up on that hurricane, but man, I hope that's all okay and that Alberto Del Rio wasn't down there.
Yeah, I don't think he was a part of that whole scene, but
that's good to know. I'm sorry, Alberto El Patron. My apologies.
I think it went better than expected. Less fatalities / damage / whatever. I hope that's the case. So
that's good.
Yeah, hopefully that is. But it's interesting you mentioned Alberto Patron, because something that I wanted to mention here towards the top. I'm going to break the seal on something here with the show. I'm going to put a name out there on the program that hasn't been out there in several years, because you and I have a very good mutual friend who has a job where, all things considered, generally speaking, they like you to sort of be anonymous. But such has been the case recently when our good friend gets featured on, say, Total Divas. I guess it's okay to mention the guy's name on the program. Kyle Ross and I have been using shorthand for him over the years. Whenever we reference him, the little guy. I'm going to break the seal today.
The little guy, really?
Yes, the little guy.
That's heightist.
Yes, it definitely is. We are definitely height supremacists.
He's very short, though.
Yes, we are height supremacists. But for long-time listeners of the program, going back to the Sports Talk Network days, of course, we refer to our good friend Ryan Ward, who we used to broadcast.
Are we going to bleep that out?
Yes. that will be censored. But I never wanted to mention his name because it was like, okay, Dave Meltzer would mention him in the dirt sheets and whatever. But I figure, the lower the profile he has publicly, the better. But, hey, when the guy's, getting featured on Total Divas, I guess they trust him enough to be out there. And, the
only thing I got to say to shout out to our buddy is that he's doing a kick butt job on NXT. It's like the one show that is constantly every single week. It's it's booked old school style, and I told him this a couple years ago when I talked about it, because I very rarely talk shop with him, because it's like any other job out there.
Right.
Most people, they don't want to talk about their work outside of work.
Right.
So I very rarely, no matter how cool your job is, I mean, I'm the exception. I'll talk about anything you want to talk to. It's about me. I'm very humble like that.
Right.
I love talking about myself, but big props to the NXT and their specials they've been doing down there. Actually, we're going to be watching Hell in a Cell after this.
Yes.
But the way they've developed and building new stars and everything, it reminds me a lot. I told him it reminded me a lot of like old school Memphis. He kind of laughed. It reminded me of old school Memphis meets TNA, and not in a bad way.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Like the good part of TNA.
Yeah, you know, and
is that still a thing, by the way?
I don't think so. I don't think it is.
The last time I saw TNA, I went there live.
Yeah.
I watched Bound for Glory. I found someone shared a stream with me, and I watched it, and it felt like an indie show on film. It was just so horribly bad.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be coated with a yellow stream than watch a TNA stream, to be honest with you.
This is going to sound
and
weird considering it's professional wrestling. It seemed fake.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was no emotion to it. It was just there. It was a thing, and it was like, and then I have an issue, and this is really weird. Let's harken right back to like NXT. Okay, I don't watch Impact or whatever it was because A, I have to make an effort to search for it because I don't have cable, so I have to make an effort to search for it. And B, I don't like the fact that it's taped like 18 months ago or how they tape it. But here's the weird part: they tape NXT, and yet I'll watch that. Right. Because it feels real. It feels like the emotion is like genuine on NXT. And big props again to our guy for doing such awesome things. If it couldn't be one of us, we're glad it's him in that situation. There's nobody we could ask for better to hold the future of professional wrestling down than the pencil.
Well, the pencil, yes, as we refer to him on Facebook a lot of times. And here's the thing, too. Like, look, you and I are guys that love booking, and there's a number of us that do, too. But the thing of it is, Ryan is unique in the whole thing of, like I couldn't possibly be jealous of him because I would never be able to jump through all the hoops that he has to keep the job. So it's easy not to be jealous of him.
Oh, yeah,
because,
I mean, I wouldn't lie.
He has the patience of Job.
And say there's a tad bit of envy there. I don't know if it's jealousy. There's a tad bit of envy there. But I am, and again, if it's not me, I'm glad that it's somebody that I trust, that I've had conversations, as they say, going up and down the road with.
Right.
And, we all like to book. Kyle likes to book, too. He's just not good at it.
The funny thing is, Kyle is going to be critiquing, maybe on this program, I'm going to be doing some retro rebooking of WCW 1991 on Total Extreme Wrestling, and Kyle wants the ability to do some...
Wait, you're rebooking WCW now? Okay, here's your first thing. Re-sign Flair.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
If that's not an option, then,
hopefully.
Just run with the Western States Heritage title. And
the funny thing is, I was telling... Ryan about this, Ryan Ward. I saw him, hung out with him for like about 8 hours at Kyle Ross's wedding over the summer. I appointed myself his chauffeur since he didn't have a ride in town anywhere, so we were hanging out constantly. And I will tell you, too, it's one of these things, now that he's one of these cult favorites out there, and you see on Twitter, everybody's like, who's this Ryan Ward guy? I don't know who he is, but he's a good booker. I'm going to say this, and it's I can't help it that this is cliche. I hate to be cliche guy, but there's no other way to do it. While Ryan Ward is a Hall of Fame caliber booker, yes, I'm sorry, it's a cliche. He's an even better guy. He's an even better person than he is. He's a great friend. He's very loyal to people. He's fun to talk to. I had the time of my life hanging out with him.
He's just not returning my text messages. So, right now, as far as I'm concerned, he's dead till he returns my text message.
He's not always great about that.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I went out there, pencil. Yeah. Call me.
I don't always,
seriously, call me. I'm worried about you. Well, I want to make sure everything's okay with you. Call me.
It's funny because I was joking about this. I texted him a few months ago. As soon as I don't know if you noticed it, but NXT started getting reviewed on AV Club. And I texted him, and I was like, oh, the hipsters are going to be saying your product is too mainstream now.
Oh, my.
Yeah, NXT, that's too mainstream. The funny thing is, I came across this character on Twitter. I can't remember his handle. It's good that I don't give him any publicity anyways. A guy who's the biggest Captain Neckbeard, smart mark, comic book guy wannabe, who's like, NXT was so much better before Ryan Ward took over. You people think it's great? First of all, he thinks Ryan took over in December of 2014, which is bullcrap. He'd been running it for well over a year. I think longer than that.
Yeah, I think so. He's always been a part of the crew of what was going on there. But I remember reading it was like a year prior to that he was, it was pretty much just him. It's like him and Triple H, and then you got their agents and stuff, like the trainers that are down there.
Right.
And the cool thing about it too is that this is one of the things that I like about NXT that's different. It's not micromanaged.
Right.
And Triple H has said that on different interviews and whatnot, and on their NXT panel before SummerSlam they did on the network, that they let the guys come up with their stuff to develop it for. It's kind of hilarious. The developmental league is the one that where it's what it should be, and it's like the joke is now that you get demoted to the main roster, then you get handed these scripts by all these guys, and everyone's just like, what's this? It's like NXT Brooklyn showed that there's a market for NXT, and the fact that if they wanted to, it could go head-to-head with their main roster and be better than it. And I think Vince McMahon's afraid of that fact because he has his vision, and it's been his vision forever in a day. But at the same time, it's like NXT's just fun.
It is.
It's like Rachel, she's in there sleeping right now. She doesn't like Raw. She'll watch it because I'm watching it, but for the most part, she's like, turn on NXT. She's like, it's like, especially like the women's match, and they developed an actual, like, they made you interested, and it wasn't because it's a women's match, and we'll call it the Ronda Rousey effect from that. But it's shown that, like women are capable of putting on great matches, and I've heard there's this thing called Shimmer that's been around for. I mean, I know what Shimmer is. I've never watched it because I just never have. Nothing against it. I hear it's really awesome. Shout out to all the ladies working out there. But it's been going on for years that it can actually work, and it's just kind of cool that there's like these two competing brands, and I look forward to hopefully maybe one day. Everyone knows the smart Mark wet dream of like NXT versus the main roster. I don't want that. I just rather just pluck guys from the main roster, put them back down on it, and put them on NXT.
Right, and then use them better, And it's the whole thing too. I mean, it's been like a revelation to me. Like, oh my God, women's wrestling doesn't have to suck. It's just been a big revelation to me because that's some of the best stuff they're doing. Sasha versus Bayley is as good as it gets, male or female. And
Bayley is such a license to print money. When she comes to the main roster, she is such a it's like if you don't like her, you're just a mean person.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Don't get me wrong. There's going to be that guy out there. It's like she's just too happy. I don't like her.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like as far as performance goes, wow. Like I can't wait to see. Like I so badly want to see some. And by the way, shout out to anybody out there to do this on the YouTube. Mm-hmm. Somebody make a redo of the Four Horsemen's entrance video, but do it with the Four Horsewomen.
Ooh.
And how cool would it be to see like the Four Horsewomen come out wearing all business suits, like the Four Horsemen back in the day, but wearing like female business suits. And I would love to see like a Survivor Series match where they just stand there as the Four Horsewomen and cut a promo, like the exact opposite of like they're like it's all about women power in the new age. I think that would be so awesome.
It would be incredible. It would be, but it's so funny though because the point of reference for what I'm about to say is Ric Flair. The only worry that I have with any of them right now is, and ironically, his daughter is one of the Four Horsewomen, but it's not the one I'm thinking of. Ric Flair, while he would tell you he did his best work as a heel, and that was probably true, there got to a point in his career where nobody wanted to boo him anymore, and it got in the way of anything they wanted to do to the contrary. I'm worried that Sasha's already at that point. Sasha might be the greatest heel on God's green earth, but, I mean, she's just, like, beloved now. So it's like, what do they do with her? I don't even know.
She's beloved, that and the fact that, like, I listened to her on Chris Jericho's podcast, and after hearing her on there, it was like, how can I am absolutely, like, fascinated and mesmerized by this 23-year-old woman. She's incredible. She's, like... the fact that she said her favorite wrestlers were Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Jericho, and Dean Malenko, I'm like, oh, my God, wow.
Right.
Where were you at when I was in high school?
Right.
It's like, that's who you, like, you're a fan of work rate? Wait, what? And you're pretty? Like, what's going on here? And the fact that, and the fact that she's Snoop Dogg's cousin, that also, she's another one that's such a license to print money.
Right.
And her genuine emotion that comes through is that, you can tell she's happy, like her and like Bayley and them.
Right.
They're not models anymore, because back in our era, which I guess we're still in it, but we're old now, Rick, was like, the whole diva search. Let's just find some, hot, or some girl like the ones I just want to use this to get into Playboy or whatever.
Right.
Now you actually have women that are coming in that are just as passionate about as the guys.
Yep.
And it shows in the work that they do.
Well, yeah, actually, and as you mentioned too, I mean, Sasha. I mean, I think just about anybody would agree as well as being, I mean, an incredible heel, an incredible worker, whatever. Oh, by the way, probably one of the most beautiful women on God's green earth, which makes it hilarious that Tammy Sitch, did you hear her critique of, like, her and Becky, like, she was putting down her and Becky Lynch and whatever as being a couple of butterfaces? Like, Ooh, okay, Tammy. I mean, you have, and I say this as somebody that I posed for a Polaroid with back at one of the Pillman tribute shows. But
What, 1999?
98. But
Okay,
I mean,
that's
I will
different.
just say, anyone who has aged as poorly in the public eye as Ms. Sitch, I feel bad saying this, but if you're going to bury somebody else, you know what I mean?
I'm friends with Tammy on Facebook.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's I don't need Total Divas. I've got that reality shit show. Yeah, I said it. And it's just everything. And she's just one of those people that goes on there and just starts venting against stuff. And I'm like, dude, just let it. I don't even know how I ended up becoming Facebook friends with her. I'm like, just let it, let it go. Like, seriously.
That is kind of random.
It is totally random, but it's like, and all she it's like, if she wasn't who she is, it's just kind of hilarious because she goes on there and rants against people like she's not who she is,
Right.
and that goes back to the same thing. If she just wants attention,
Right.
It's just desperate for attention, and I have nothing against her personally. I don't know her. I'm not going to dog her because she'll probably like tag us in something and insult us because we said
Yeah, I
something.
hope she
mean
never
about
hears this.
her. Oh no! If she hears this, hey, you know what? You're a good person and you do good things. Just don't let people get to you.
Yeah.
You know, life's too short to let like the nappy sayers out there, or whatever the word I'm looking for is, to the haters. That's the word.
Yeah.
To let the haters get you down. You know, everybody makes mistakes, but when you put it out there in public eye, you're going to get the public backlash from it too.
Right.
That's
exactly.
that's my thoughts on that. And you know what? Don't hate on other people's success.
Right.
You had your time. Your time has gone, and that's not. It just happens. That's part of life.
Right.
They're doing great. They're doing good things. You know, you're entitled to your opinion, and so's everybody else. So
Yeah.
It's karma. Whatever you put out in the world is what you get
Exactly.
back.
Yeah.
The rule of attraction, as the Ryback is a big fan of.
But to see her burying Sasha Banks as an uggo is not only unfortunate, but completely inappropriate.
Wait, she said she's an uggo?
Well,
That's racist.
A butterface.
That's racist.
A butterface, she said.
That's just mean.
Yeah, it is. First of all, it's
What
the
does a butterface even mean?
sort of like everything's hot, butterface.
I have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
I'm really showing my age here.
Okay.
I have no
Well,
clue.
That's actually
Hashtag
an older,
no idea.
No, that in your defense, that's not you being an old guy. That's a term that's been around a long time. You just never heard it. So
Oh,
Yeah.
I must have been running in the wrong circles.
you must have been. You must have been. But I mean, all the people down at NXT that have done such great character work and collaborating with our friend and everything too. The one thing that I will say, and I don't want this to sound maudlin, but I mean, I'm all about being honest in front of the mics here and just kind of letting it out. And I think you'll probably kind of get where I'm coming from on this because I mean, you remember from back in the day and us hanging out and watching wrestling together with him and what a sense he has of the history of the business. And obviously it's what informs him and what he's doing now. But it's a thing where what he's doing right now, and he's getting to be about 3 years into where he's at. I mean, I think we would agree. This run in NXT, I mean, you put it against, the glory days of Mid-South, ECW, Crockett, whatever. But it's kind of sad that he doesn't see that. And it's just like
because it's a job.
He's in the bubble. And it's like I wish he could take satisfaction from it, and he does. It's not like he doesn't, but it's like I said to him when I saw him at Kyle's wedding. I'm like, I said I'm not looking forward to the end of your life, but like when you're 80 years old and you're in the wheelchair and whatever, and you're sitting there, I said you're going to be able to look back and realize what a part of history you were. You've already made history that nobody can ever take from you. And I look forward to the day when that kind of seeps in. I don't think it ever will when he's in the bubble, but he's entitled to feel that way.
I look forward to the day when you get him on this show. And then we really pick his brain. Be like, hey, all right, here's the deal. All bets are off. Let's just shoot from the hip.
Well, when he's head writer, which I think is in his future, then he'll be able to do that probably.
That'd be kind of fun. And be like, hey, my first question is going to be,
what?
Why don't you return my text message? I thought we were friends.
Well, here's the funny thing, is that this is at Kyle's wedding. So I'm looking around, like, I find where he's at, and I like, slide down the aisle from the other way. I'm sitting, like, right next to him. Like, he doesn't, but he's not looking up. I think he's, like, looking at his phone, whatever. But I know that he has, like, two phones. He has, like, one personal, one business. I must have texted the wrong one because I texted him, turn around, and he never turned around. So
oh, good. Well, I'm glad no, he ignores you, too, and you're in the same room.
I texted him right next to him, and I was kind of like, that obviously wasn't the phone because I had to tap him on the shoulder.
Uh-huh. Someone's getting too big for us little people. Just saying.
By the way, too, I have never been at a wedding before where the processional was a string quartet playing "I Remember You" by Skid Row. That was pretty awesome.
Well, that's fantastic. By the way, anybody out there you want to get married, call me, jakedigman@gmail.com. I do weddings.
Yeah. It's a missed opportunity not having you do Kyle's one.
Well, he didn't ask me. He didn't even invite me. I wasn't even invited to the party, let alone invited to do the wedding.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick a scab there. But,
I'm totally cool. Trust me, I'm fine.
One
Kyle Ross. I'm totally cool. I mean, I could have booked a better wedding, just saying.
Yeah, probably.
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, you know what? In all honesty, I'm actually very happy for our friend.
Yeah, everything's gone very well.
I haven't seen him in years, so if I got married tomorrow, I wouldn't invite Kyle either. So
well, there you go.
Totally
he
fair.
Make the cut. But it was one more thing about it with Ryan. It was interesting too. It was just the commonality of. I've never worked for a corporation like the WWE. I've spent many years, in a sort of Dilbert type role with a major corporation. What's interesting is because
you do?
It's hard to.
Please.
It would take the rest of the podcast to explain it. The funny thing is, our friend Tony Mazer, he has asked our friend Anthony Petrone, what exactly does Rick do?
I've wondered this for years.
I know. It's like I've
always envisioned you like a person like just sits in a cubicle at I envision kind of like Office Space, where you just sit in a cubicle all day and you don't actually do anything, but you just make it pretend like you're doing something. Like my vision of you, like they give you books to look over and you just like look at them and you're like, yep, that's a book.
That's a little closer to the truth, actually, than I might want to admit. But what's
it
funny,
has words, pages, and a cover. All right, send it out to shipment.
The commonality with Ryan, because I commented to him, because he's been there since 2009. I'm like, you have really exceeded the average lifespan, and you don't look like you're going anywhere anytime soon. And what's funny is that he was saying to me, common sense. He said, not everybody that's left, it's been an issue, but it's one of these things. And it's so funny because, like with me, in my Dilbert-type role, keep your head down, don't make enemies, whatever. And it's amazing that in talking to him, it's like how much of it's the same thing. It's like, don't do anything stupid, and you're going to be okay. But most people do stupid things. Most people in life, Jake, do stupid things.
That's like that anywhere, though. I just had okay, this is actually a really funny story, and if anybody from my work hears this, I'm probably...
Okay.
Now, actually, no, I'll prove that nothing will happen to me, even if I put this out there on this podcast. All right? So it's like that with anything. I've often said at whatever job I've worked at, it's always good. I don't care if all the rest of the minions like me, and 99.9% of them do, as long as management likes me. Because managements are the ones that can give me the days off that I need, the ones that they can handle situations. And I've never been accused of being a kiss-ass, but at the same time, it's like I also know who, at the end of the day, where my checks are coming from, and who I need to butter up to in order to get the right things. And whether you're working for the WWE or bartending or you're counting pages in a book like you do, I mean, that's like that's the best. I mean, that's the best option that you can have is that and on this, and if you do that, if you're good and treat people right, then you show up and do your job, then you're going to get rewarded for it. And case in point, yesterday I was supposed to be at work at 2:00. I'm a bartender at some place that will remain anonymous. I bartend. I was supposed to be there at 2:00. I rolled in at 20 after 3. Didn't call anybody. Didn't say anything. Just showed up. I walked through the door. My boss was like, "Hey, how you doing? Welcome." Didn't say a word to me.
Wow.
Didn't say a word to me about it.
Nice.
I was like, because that situation, I knew what I could get away with. Now, if it was like a Friday night and I showed up an hour and a half late at a night shift, that might be different, But I knew nothing was going to be happening.
Well, that's something I can co-sign on. Know what you can get away with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
As our friend Ryan Ward once said to me, as anybody who has ever worked with Vince McMahon, we're not one of the two of them, but as know which hill you want to die on.
Right.
And that applies to every situation in life. I don't care if it's your job, if it's your relationship, no matter what it is. Know what hill you're willing to die on.
Exactly. And it's so funny because, when you just drill it down to the fundamentals of that, it's so funny that he does something that's so different than us, a lot more glamorous, albeit, like I said, I could never do it just because I could never tolerate all
you would get so mad. Oh, my God. I could see you in a meeting and standing up going, this booking makes no sense, get ticked off and storm out of the room. They'd be like, well, that's it. So much for Rick. It'd be like 3 weeks in, and you'd be like, you get all mad at because they did something you just think was completely irrational booking.
See,
like, no, Smart Mark guy doesn't like this. This is stupid. No. And then you get a phone call from Kyle. I'm proud of you, son.
Yeah. It's like, see, I know myself. I know that I couldn't deal with that. So it's like, it's just like, if there was a world where Vince McMahon wasn't, the guy deciding everything, like, okay, then maybe I might want to be a professional booker, but not the way things are. So that's why I can detach myself completely and say I'm happy for Ryan and I'm sort of living vicariously without any pangs because he's, and again, and to hear him talk about it, it's not, he has a more natural ability. Things kind of flow better for him than they do for us. He was telling me how expensive Stamford is also.
Oh,
too,
it's one of the most expensive places to live.
But then, like, there's like parking meters at the mall.
Yeah,
and
that sounds about
grocery
right. It's
stores.
like, from what he told me when I talked to him a couple years ago about this,
Mm-hmm.
it's like rich elitist asshole country. like you don't want to go there. Like it's the worst place. It's like it's all the most stuck up worst people ever in life are in this one little area that like it's just awful. Awful.
He
bad.
wasn't complaining about that with me, but it was the prices and everything like that, the cost of living, and like he goes, Ricky, I know you're going to think I'm BSing you, but like there's this mall that's got like 7 stories, and you got to go there and you got to park, and it's a couple bucks per hour. Just like, are you kidding?
This is highway robbery right there. But then again, it is on the outskirts. I mean, it is like elitist New York City. So I mean,
pretty much.
Pretty much is what it is.
But
I don't plan on vacationing there anytime soon.
No. I'd love to catch up with him, but not in Stamford. We'll have to do it someplace else.
My mom went there. She ran a marathon through there.
Oh, interesting.
That's funny because they went by the WWE headquarters. And I was like, I went by the WWE headquarters. It's small.
Both your parents run long distances? Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
My aunt, my mom, my dad, and my aunt, they travel around the country. My aunt's
Yeah.
actually today in L.A. doing the Los Angeles Rock and Roll Marathon series.
Because like I remember over the summer, didn't your dad run like, what was it, 58 miles or something?
He did a 100-mile over the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my parents are absurd on that. It's kind of funny because like they're and I'm very proud of them. They're very inspirational because they didn't even start running till like less than 10 years ago.
Okay.
It's just one of those things. He decided. My dad was a chain smoker. He smoked like a pack of Swisher Sweet cigars every day for like 35 years. And one day decided, hey, I'm going to start running marathons instead. And then quit smoking and started running marathons. And
how bizarre is this? That's another thing you and I have in common. My dad, like nobody ever like addictively smokes cigars, but my dad used to smoke cigars like all the time.
Yeah. My dad, it would be great though because like buying like Christmas and birthdays was so easy. I just bought him a carton of cigars. Now I actually have to think of what the heck I'm going to get him, and half the time I don't know what to get him because like you, he's gluten free, so I can't get him like food. Well, we get him some like gluten free stuff, but my dad's always one of those people where it's like, what do you want? Nothing. Okay.
And
I finally just started listening to him.
That is an inspiration. Since getting diagnosed over the summer with celiac disease here, which again, I just was at a gastro doctor. He's like, how did your doctor even
like a
spot
gastro
this?
pub?
Yeah, something like that. Like, I had no symptoms, but my doctor just like took a lucky guess, tested me for it, whatever. But the fact that your dad is out there as healthy as he is, whatever, it's like, okay, that's cool. There's people that are doing this that are healthy. And
yeah, you'll be fine.
So
you just can't have good tasting food ever again.
Well, here's the funny thing: is that like
you can eat steak though, right?
And that's what I was about to say.
You eat all the steak you can eat.
Pretty much, yeah. So now it's like I've been eating steak out more. I'm not like a huge I love steak, but I mean like if for no other reason than the economics of it, most people don't always eat steak out. But I have been eating steak sort of by default at places.
Oh, I love a good steak. We actually went to the Hartville Flea Market a couple weeks ago on President's Day, and went in there and they had Duma's Meats, and we got a couple steaks and brought them home and cooked them, and it was just like, oh, so good. Yeah. It's like I love me a good steak, but at the same time, it's like anything, I don't want it every day,
right? Because
you have it every day, then it's like it goes, you get sick of it. So,
and
it's expensive.
The funny thing is, here's something that could be taken out of context. Speaking of steak and eating out, so on Tuesday, I have a fantasy hoops draft at the Winking Lizard in Bedford. I'm going there after work. So, Anthony Petrone, our mutual friend, called me yesterday, and as I was just leaving the grocery store, and I said, I was just picking up gluten-free bacon bits for my basketball draft on Tuesday because basically I'm going to get a steak, plain salad, reach in the pocket, get a sprinkle of the gluten-free bacon bits, and there we go.
Bacon has gluten in it?
Well, here's the thing, and you probably this is something I'm sure your dad has experienced. There's a lot of foods that don't necessarily have gluten, but they're made in facilities where gluten is also, or wheat is present, and everything like that, so they won't vouch for it otherwise. So bacon is one of these things where, you got to have it be gluten-free or whatever.
The cool thing, too, is as this movement has been taking place, is a lot of stuff like stores like accommodate to stuff like I see like at the local supermarket they have like gluten-free almost everything.
Right.
Like I've had gluten-free bread. It wasn't bad. I mean,
like everything's made out of rice instead of like pasta or wheat flour.
We sell gluten-free spaghetti at the place of business of which I am employed that I cannot mention the name of due to the story from earlier.
Okay.
But I'm still employed there. I'm not sure, but Yeah, we have gluten-free sketty on the menu. And,
Okay, it's probably made out of rice then. Okay.
Probably, yeah. The only problem I have with that, though, and we actually make it here. Actually, the funny thing, we make vegetable spaghetti here. We'll buy that at the store, make that stuff. You know, just different kind. My thing I always have with gluten-free spaghetti is it's kind of, again, maybe that's because it's made out of rice. As soon as you eat it, you're full for like 10 seconds, and then you're like, I'm hungry again.
Yeah,
it tastes like it's weird. It tastes hollow. It tastes like there's nothing, like there's no substance to it.
Yeah, that's one of the things too. I've been learning that about the different types of foods, and you know, it definitely takes some getting used to on that. But you know, so we've talked wrestling, we've talked some food on MMA. I know it's expected to talk MMA with you, as you were the world's greatest MMA ring announcer.
Oh, I am. Take that, Bruce Buffer.
Yeah.
It's time. Oh, crap. I'm going to get sued.
That was so funny. When at your birthday party, when we were watching Jess's fight on Fox over the summer, of you doing a Bruce Buffer impersonation there, and I was like, now I want to hear Bruce Buffer do a Jake Digman impersonation.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. That'd be fantastic. Shout it out there if you want to do it. That'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
It's like doing ring announcing, like over the years, like because I grew up watching for sorts of like I grew up watching Howard Finkel, so like I never very rarely get to do it, but whenever like I get a title change, I do actually do the and new.
Nice.
I do that.
Yeah, that's right.
I do that.
Yeah.
But very rarely. Oh yeah, you got to see it live at the show. Yeah, I did do it at that one. Your winner and new, because I was like that was always that moment like as a kid. Like that was the announcer that I knew the most of was like Howard Finkel, and then there was always the Michael Buffer. Michael Buffer's always favorite when he didn't know anybody's name in WCW and he was clearly there for a paycheck.
Right.
And now, Brett Hitman Clark. Like, what?
Didn't Brett like MF him on camera?
I think so,
that?
probably.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember.
And that was another thing. Hogan probably paid him to mispronounce the name.
Man, Hulk Hogan, man, that's racist.
Yeah.
Against Canadians. Brother.
But
like, yeah, like I always maintain to not mimic anybody else's style because, like, especially on announcing and you're up there, it's so easy, and especially when people find out what I do, they're always like, you know, first person, let's get ready to rumble. It's like, I can't say that. If I say that, I'm going to get sued.
Right.
It's like I'm actually a professional at this, and what I do, if I, like, rip somebody, you never want to rip off somebody else's gimmick.
Right.
Like, mine now, like, I've been only recently, the past year or so, I've started adding in, like, you know, a little hype thing for, like, I started doing rhymes. Like, I did the last show. I think it was, like, let me remember what I said at our last show we just did. It was, like, something to the akin of, on your feet, let the whole world know that we, and I pointed to the whole crowd, are the RFO.
Okay.
And this is our main event of the evening. And
okay.
It was, trust me, it was much more animated when I did it. But, and it was a lot of fun, and it's cool. It's great because it's, as they say in the industry, over. Like, people now, as I get to the main event, they start to rise up on their feet on their own because they're like, oh, my God, we're going to get so hyped up. And it's pretty cool. Like as you were recording the spot earlier for the sponsor of tonight's episode, shout out to the RFO. I'm very honored and blessed to be working with a great organization, and like our whole thing, we're a movement. We're not. For many years, I've been involved in the regional MMA scene since 2005 in one capacity or another. And for so many years, it was all about like building up the drama between people and selling it like, you know, wrestling and selling us like, and like it was actually real life drama of, you know, people would talk trash about other people on Facebook and all this other stuff. And it was all this pettiness back and forth that, I mean, it worked to sell tickets, but now we've kind of we've matured in our age, and we've like my good friend Matt Trukovich, the promoter of RFO, did a really great speech that I'm gonna have to paraphrase from second telling because I missed it because I was too busy seating people at the door in Akron. But hey, you know what? It was great to come home to my hometown and do a show, and it kind of goes with the territory. But basically, he talked about how we're a family and how we all have been doing this for so long, and how we need to work together and do things to work together for the benefit of everybody. In that we are all, you know, we made something special, and what we're doing is through MMA and through the RFO, we have a movement going of positive energy, of creating, like, you know, be the change you want to be. Everybody complains about stuff, but nobody does anything about it.
Yep.
nobody wants to be that positive energy to put out there in the world. Through RFO, we do our absolute best to put the positive energy out into the world. And it was very cool at the last show we did just a couple weeks ago, actually last weekend at Mansfield. Matt's wife, Melissa, and everybody got together, and we had a picture of him that was blown up, and he didn't know we were doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And we had everybody sign it as a message of, like, thanks, because they've been around for almost 10 years now. And he I'm not going to lie, he shed a tear a little bit. We gave each other a hug in the cage. I was honored to be the one to present it to him inside the cage. It was a really cool moment, and like the fans out there are so appreciative, and they're a part of this movement that we have going on. And it's very cool that, you know, we're all working together. Like, it was the first time to me. It meant a lot personally because it was the first time I got to, I in 5 years I got to introduce Strong Style Fight Team, and they've always been one of my favorite people to announce. And just because of stuff that happened in the past and different whatnot that took place, we went down separate paths, and there was a lot of tension that was there. And I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Marcus, their owner and head trainer, everything, and just pretty much just cleared the air and just said, hey, you know what? I'm glad you guys are part of this. I've missed you guys. Anything on my part that happened with us in the past, I apologize for that, and I'm happy for that you do it. And it was mutual. I shook my hand and said, "Man, it's great to see you again," and all that stuff. And it's cool to have a clean slate. I did not that I had to do that for me personally. I needed to do that to get that off my shoulder. And now it's like, you know, we're all united to the point of what we can be united just throughout. I'm blessed in this fact that RFO has become arguably the number one local MMA promotion around here. It's a destination spot where people want to fight there because we got that way because we treat people right. We're not on TV. We don't sell that you're going to be on TV. We don't even put we don't do broadcast live. It's pretty much you fight at the show. We put our fights up on our Facebook page and YouTube, but that's about it. I mean, we don't make any other promises other than that. You know, we're just a show. People come in, and the fans get their money's worth, and the fighters, they want to be there because they get treated right. And at the end of the day, it's like any business. You treat people the right way,
right?
Good things will happen.
Yeah, it's an impressive promotion, and you know, it goes to what you were saying, too, about your style. By the way, the thing with new champion, for whatever reason, the one that I always associate that with the most, I don't know why, Savage Steamboat Boston Garden Intercontinental title, I think it was February of '86. For whatever reason, that the new Intercontinental champion. I mean, you're right. Finkel did that so many times. I don't know why that's the one time that kind of sticks in my head.
I don't know. I mean, like, mine was always anytime he did it, really. I can't think of one that really pops out, but it was always like, here's your winner. And one of my favorites was WrestleMania 4 with Demolition. It was like, here's your winner and new tag team champions, only because there's this kid in the front row cheering, and then he realizes Demolition won, and he, like, stops cheering halfway through the middle. It's so funny. I remember as a kid watching that. He's like, yeah, oh, wait, no, wait, yeah, like, no, wait, Strike Force stinks. And then he starts cheering again.
Was that the same kid in 91 whose favorite tag team was Doom?
That was a great moment.
By the way, Kyle Ross texted me
that
recently.
Moment was also racist, by the way.
He texted me recently, Kyle Ross, to ask me if that kid grew up to be Ben Carson. I was like, I don't think so. Yeah.
That was funny. You were mentioning, like, earlier, like, stuff like different changes that made me think of it most recently being Back to the Future Day. You know, the alternate 2000. What if in an alternate 2015, what if Bill Watts won the Monday Night War? Yeah, he actually beat out Jim Crockett and then beat out Vince McMahon, and Bill Watts won. We'd be in the middle of the Biggie Langston world title reign right now.
We probably would be.
Absolutely, we would be.
This Hoss, he's a great amateur wrestler, too.
Heck yeah, him, you know, and he'd have his thugs with them, Biggie or the other one, Xavier Woods and Kofi.
That would be.
And Mark Henry. No, actually, we'd probably have 17-time world champion Mark Henry. Who am I kidding?
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. That hoss that he is. You know, but
eat him up.
It's funny. I hadn't put two and two together on the Howard Finkel thing till you said that, but I do remember you saying that. But when you talk about, you know, trying to build your own style and everything like that of announcing, that absolutely is true, because I know I told this story I think twice on the show with you previously, of sitting there in the theater watching Warrior, which you were in as a ring announcer. And
good movie. Check it out.
Yeah, and I texted you. I was like, holy crap, they got Jake Digman to play Jake Digman. I was like, I just thought.
That was great casting right there, by the way. That was impressive.
Yeah, I guess I just assumed, like most people, like they're going to bring you in and like they have their idea of how they're.
They did have their idea. They did have their idea, because mine's funny. Like, I can actually do other announcings. Like, I can. like whatever you want me to do. Like I can do like there's my actual style. Like in the red corner, he weighed in at 175 pounds, representing team blah 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 blah, Rick Morris.
Mm-hmm.
But I can do like when I did boxing, it was totally different. I've announced a couple boxing shows, and I'd be like, it's time for 12 rounds of championship boxing here live at the Sportatorium in Cleveland, Ohio. We got our referee tonight, referee Jim Traction, introducing first in the red corner. He is a freestyle boxer representing, and it's like a nasally thing.
Isn't
I
it
don't
like
know.
Jimmy Lennon, wasn't that like how he used to do it?
Kinda, I think so.
Okay.
And I wasn't intending to be that way.
Okay.
It just when I started doing it, it just naturally because I was doing boxing, so I just like it was weird. It just came out as something completely separate from MMA. It's more of
Okay.
a nasally pitch, and it fit in with like the situation of what I was in. I've shockingly never announced pro wrestling,
Okay.
which I kind of want to change that. So anybody out there listening, I'm available for hire. I would love to like announce a pro wrestling show because I think I would do pro wrestling completely separate than I would do like anything else than I would do boxing or MMA. I'd be like, the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for the local promotion tag team championship. I think it'd be completely separate.
I don't know if I ever told you this. Did I ever tell you my story of as a very, very young man back in '96 doing it at the it was the National Guard Armory in Lorain. It was a heck of a thing. Here, I'll take a moment and I'll kind of set this up for you. But the way it was going was one of my bowling buddies at the time. He knew I was a wrestling fan, and he was he wrestled under the name Ron Stryker regionally, and it was a thing where he was starting up a promotion, and I just happened to own a tux. So he's like, "Would you like to be the ring announcer for it?" So like, "Oh, okay." So I did that on one occasion. It was at their first show, and it was do you remember from back in the day the regional wrestler Frank Stiletto?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he was like doing like the achy breaky heart, like from every woman's dream, Frank Stiletto, and like.
Well, of course he would be.
There was I made friends with one of the guys at their gym, this up and coming young wrestler named Rodney, and I was kind of working with him. He was doing
From the Mean Street Posse?
No, hardly. He was wrestling as the Unknown Rebel, doing a Southern gimmick. So
as opposed to the known rebel.
This is very politically incorrect to admit to in this day and age, but I did happen to own a Stars and Bars bandana that I loaned him for part of the gimmick, and
it's fine. You're allowed to. It's a thing. It existed.
He was looking for like where he could be announced from, and I helped him come up with that. I was like, I think I know how to do this. From Sweet Home, Alabama.
Nice. Tell me that was his entrance theme, too?
That was. We played that as the entrance theme. I remember that there were guys that were doing some kind of African. I'm sorry, no. It was a Native American gimmick, and so they just needed like some kind of exotic sounding music, and I suggested for exotic sounding music something off of the Paul Simon Graceland album, and they were like, "But Rick, that's African." I'm like, "You honestly think anybody in this club we're doing this is going to be discerning
Do you think
enough?"
any of those 7 people in the crowd are going to know? Hey, wait a minute, that's not right. That's African.
I was vindicated because nobody knew the difference. And I remember this one special ed kid that was in like the second row that was yelling at the Metal Maniac, "You think you're a macho man? You'll never be the macho man."
That's outstanding.
Well, not only that, Kyle thought that I was making this up. But backstage, Metal Maniac comes up to me and is browbeating me about, "Oh, so you're a journalist? You tell Bill Apter I should have been Rookie of the Year in '92. They gave it to the Super Invader. That was Hercules Hernandez. He was no rookie." I'm like, "I don't work for Pro Wrestling Illustrated." He keeps going unabated. "You tell Bill Apter this." And Kyle goes, "You're making this up." I said, "No, I'm not making this up." But so whether it be MMA, whether it be pro wrestling, these are some of the oddities that we have swirling around us. But you're right. RFO is doing a heck of a job. I've been impressed to see it. And it looks like it's a shining light on the MMA landscape right now.
Yeah, it's doing really good. Our last show was kind of interesting. Our last show was like determined. The show itself kept trying to fail. Mm-hmm. Like it was like bound and determined itself. The show itself was like, I'm going to fail because we had 13 fights drop off the card. We ended up losing an entire fight card. Like before
That's
we had to
amazing.
refill it. When it first started, it was the Super Bowl of MMA. It was the biggest fight card of the year. It was humongous. And then injuries are a part of the game, and boom, 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 boom. And major shout-out to our matchmaker, Scott Corbin, who worked his butt off. And we still put on a kick-butt show. Put it this way. Our co-main event got canceled 5 minutes before it was supposed to happen.
Wow.
Somebody blew out his RJ Buck. Hope you're feeling better, buddy. He blew out his knee, like in warming up backstage.
Ooh.
And he was the number one ticket seller on the show. So in another situation, there could have been a riot on our hands because, like, we had to tell them, like, 5 minutes beforehand, hey, that fight you came to see, that's not happening. And we're not giving you – I mean, no one asked for their money back. No one said, hey, can I have my money back? That's what I came to see. And none of the people, like, I mean, you could tell there's that look on their faces like, really? Really? But they knew it wasn't us. And thank God we have such a good rapport with our fans that our fans are just like, okay.
Did you make sure that he went into the ambulance in front of everybody so they could see it was legit?
No, we didn't have to do that. Okay. They kind of trust our word on that one. Yeah. I wanted to take the cameras backstage and have them screaming on the ground, why me? Why me? But apparently that one was nixed. I thought it would be fun.
You could have worked an angle. You could have had somebody standing above him with a
mask,
iron.
The mask. Who did it, The whodunit case. The number one or the suspect would have been Karate Mike, but Karate Mike also lost out. He didn't get his win bonus either for a fight. I mean, but here's the cool thing, again, as a shout-out to Matt. Matt paid both guys their appearance fee. They didn't even fight. He paid them both because they put the work in. It wasn't like, it was intentionally. And a lot of promoters and out there would just say, well, you didn't fight, I'm not paying you. And I've seen that a lot of times. And in this past month alone, there were two fights that got whole shows that got canceled around this area. I don't know who they were, but I really hope that an effort gets put in by the commissions to keep these fly-by-night Johnny-come-lately promoters out because it makes everything damaging for the sport for guys like us. And I think that's another reason, too, why people, like guys, want to come fight for us and the fans like coming to our shows because they know they're going to get their money's worth and they know they're going to get treated right and they're going to be treated well. And another one that's out of Akron, it's Explosive Fight Promotions. They do like lower level fights. They do like guys. My friend Randy is one of the owners up there, and he comes in every Thursday. We hang out at my place of business that I will not name, and he has lunch, and we just talk shop up there. And basically, we kind of view it as they do their show, and they get the guys have like 3 fights or under. Every once in a while, they'll do like a pro show and have something on there, but they don't want to do what we're doing because for them, business-wise, it doesn't make sense for the amount of money that goes into this. Like, that's one thing that's always annoying is people are like, hey, can I get free tickets? No, you can't get free tickets because can I come to you where you work and get free stuff? It's like, no, it's like you can't get free tickets.
Yeah, that's a douche move.
I don't know. I've done it to a couple people before, but
do you know, going back to our friend Ryan Ward, he has people hitting him up for tours of Titan Towers.
Really?
Yes, he does.
I'd ask him for one, but he won't return my text message, so it's kind of irrelevant.
It's also why we're both Facebook friends with him. It's also why we never see him on Facebook anymore because that's what basically comes of it. Like everybody just,
Can I come to your place? I was like,
yeah.
Like, no, but why? Yeah. That sounds boring.
Like people think they're like organized tours and everything.
That's funny. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could take a tour of Titan Tower, just walk in the door and be like, hey, here's a secret. Wear a suit. Walk in the door, carry a folder, act like you know where you're going, and there's a good chance you might make it.
You probably need one of those neck lanyards, too.
Get a neck lanyard. That's fine. And bring the girl working the front desk receptionist, bring her flowers and cookies. Get anywhere you want to go in life. That's a freebie one for you out there. I'm not doing it because I live in Ohio, and I really have no interest to go look at a bunch of office cubicles.
That's all it would be, basically. Anyways, it's not as interesting, I'm sure.
It's not like you're going to walk in there and be like, Vince McMahon's going to be like, oh my God, there's that random person I've been waiting for my whole life. How are you?
I don't think the TV studio's in the same building. The warehouse is off-site.
That's where I would want to go.
Yeah, exactly. If I was going to break into anywhere, it would be the warehouse.
Heck yeah, I could spend hours in there. They showed the one show that on like YouTube, like with Joey Styles in the warehouse, and they had like 5 episodes, and I'm like, I'd watch this. Like, I'd watch a show of this every week. Let me like I have no interest. Like back in the day, I always wanted like the job where you worked in the video vault room and like your job was the catalog stuff. I wonder. Imagine the guy who had the job or his whole job was to go through and to like blur out all the WWF logo.
That's right.
And now his job is to go through and unblur out the WWF logo.
I could just see if I ever broke in there. I would love to see the faces of the guys on the security cam. look at this. There's some douchebag that put on a lucha mask and he's running around body slamming wrestling buddies in the ring here.
Oy vey. I would just go hang out in the double I double deep casket. They're like, they'll never find me in here. They'll never think to look. Hey, look at that, a trap door.
There's one of these. They do these shorts on the network. They have one where it was on the history of the fist that used to be on.
I saw that
on SmackDown.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Like,
whatever happened to the fist?
Yeah, like I just assumed it was some paper mache thing. Turns out it weighs like 50 tons or some crap, and like
I think that might be exaggerated.
Move it around with a crane and whatever. I mean, it's like it was like bigger.
There was a guy who I remember watching. There's a guy whose whole job was to drive the fist. It was like he took up a whole
fist.
truck.
Yeah,
he drove the fist. I think it'd be great if that thing was like outside on a flatbed. You just see a giant fist going down the road. Like, what the hell is that? It's like, saw a fist going down the road. That's normal.
Yeah. The thing that would be the greatest is if you had a second flatbed coming up behind it that had a big mock-up of a bloody rectum. That would be tremendous.
Okay. We've gone there. We've made it there. We've gone there. We've skewed into a direction.
Well, that seems like the logical segue. You and I have talked politics previously on the program here.
Oh,
too.
wow. Okay.
Isn't that the segue?
Sure.
We got 2016 coming up. You were a big Ron Paul guy the last couple of cycles here. I'm a big Rand Paul guy for this cycle. So, I think clearly my guy has been written off for dead very prematurely.
He didn't even get a chance.
He's got a good following with the youth in Iowa. I think it's a stealthy, under-the-radar kind of a thing here. I'm saying this. I'm saying that it's still going strong. But
I saw a thing where he wasn't even included on the latest poll. It was like
Fox News does that all the time.
They did to Ron Paul too. It's like they have this agenda against him.
They do.
Like,
they do. It's
like,
so transparent.
They're like, oh wait, he speaks some sense. Like I'm not. I do not stand with Rand, but I don't stand against Rand. If that makes any sense. I'm actually my political views have changed. I'm actually NODA. I'm actually a big proponent, and people will hate me for this. I'm none of the above, and I've actually become so just like disenfranchised with the whole concept, like just voting in general. I'm just kind of like meh, and everyone's like, you have to, and like, I had some woman at work start yelling at me because like, you have no right to complain if you don't vote. I'm like, no, that is my protest by not voting, and I know a lot of people out there who are also protesting by not voting because you know what, I said a while ago that I wanted, in order to make change, I wanted a celebrity that had money that would run for office and that wasn't into politics. That. Well, I got my wish, and oh my God,
be careful what you ask
However, just for the fact that he's not going to win, but if he did, I wouldn't be upset with the fact that a WWE Hall of Famer would be in the White House. Just saying. Yeah. I saw him take a stunner at WrestleMania 23. I saw him get interviewed live at WrestleMania. I went to 2 WrestleManias, and Donald Trump was at both of them. That's crazy.
Well, just like Pete Rose, I would have bet on Pete Rose being the first WWE Hall of Famer to make it to the White House, but I hadn't thought of it that way. But
it's just the whole concept. Like, it's kind of it's a joke, really, because I watched at least the Democratic debate. They actually touched on issues that I have an interest in, like the Republican debate. It's the same old tired rhetoric over and over again. It's like, I'm pro-life, I'm against abortion. Okay, here's a fun fact: abortion's not going anywhere. It's not abortion that is the issue. It is the need for abortion in this society that is the issue. As long as there's a need for abortion, and there is because we sell sex to kids, it's going to exist. You can't run a campaign on, I'm going to make everything, every life matters, it's like, or whatever they're doing now. It's like, no, this has nothing to do with anything. You're not going to change anything because you can't get rid of it, because if you get rid of it, then it's going to happen in back alleys. The same reason why it got put in the first place. Am I personally against it? Yes. But at the same time, I can't tell someone else no, because it is what it is. It is unfortunately a necessary evil in the world we live in. Because if they get rid of it, it ain't like it's going to stop happening.
Without endorsing the necessary evil part, look, I mean, I'm a social con myself, and it was probably surprising how much of what you said I just co-sign on, just because of the cynicism of the Republican Party. For people like me, who I'm basically a hippie about innocent unborn
You are
life.
not a hippie.
I'm a hippie about the unborn, basically.
Okay.
Like some people are hippies about baby seals. I'm hippies about the precious unborn, whatever. But here's the thing. They always promise people like me they're going to protect them and do something about it. And then we didn't realize that Supreme Court justice wasn't going to go the way we thought he was going to go. Yeah, right. What they do is they keep it out there as something to keep dangling in front of people like me who would like to, in a better world, see it go away. So I agree, actually, with a lot of what you said because they're not going to change it. I come from the standpoint of I wish that they would, but they won't. And look, this none of the above thing, I may be right with you if Rand doesn't make it in there because here's the thing.
Vote for Note on Facebook. Give us a like.
That's kind of what I did. I backed Virgil Good Jr., the Constitution Party guy, in 2012 because I was like Romney versus Obama. Like I'm like angry at my country that they're giving. This is an insult to my intelligence. I am an educated voter. I realize that I'm in the tiny, vast minority on that. Not to sound elitist, but it's true.
No, it's true.
I'm an issue guy. It's like. This is what I say to people all the time. Like, I don't get caught up on the stuff on Facebook, the culture war stuff on either side, and the bashing and whatever. And it's like, I don't care if it sounds elitist to say it, but I'm a policy guy. I care about issues. I care about policies. I'm not going to get caught up in bashing or anything like that. But it's like, if I don't get it, I love Rand Paul because he checks off so many boxes on things that I care about. It's the issues. If it ain't him, who's going to check off that many boxes in the Republican Party for me? I love the absurd things in life, as do you. I know you thought I was making this up initially until I proved it to you. There are Ron Paul purists out there who are saying, screw Rand Paul. He's not pure enough for me. I'm going to go with Ted Cruz.
Okay. I had a radio show on Ron Paul Radio for a while there. And the amount of people, it was so interesting, how I was actually in the Libertarian Party. Right. I was actually an elected official in the Libertarian Party to the point where I went to, state meetings for the Libertarian Party. Mm-hmm. And this is why now, I'm not a libertarian. I guess if I was, I'd be a libertarian with a lowercase L, as they say.
Aren't they opposed to the actual standpoint of having meetings? That seems contradictory.
No, not at all. When I went to the Libertarian Party meeting, they pretty much just said, hey, we want to be the Republicans. They just flat out said it.
Okay.
They want to be they're like Republican light. And I'm like, okay. I made the mistake of going to a couple Tea Party rallies back in the day. It's 2009, 2010, something like that. And they're all all they did was bash Democrats the whole time. And I'm you guys realize that the Republicans are just as much to blame. No, it's all the Democrats' fault. I'm like, no, so this is just a Republican rally then. Well, this is stupid. I don't want to be at it.
Those are people who won't admit that George Bush gave us 2 terms of Obama. You can't even say that to a lot of
I find this so funny, too. The people are now they're like, Obama's the worst thing ever. I'm like, you guys said the exact same thing about Bush. Yeah. Everybody hated Bush. Bush was everybody hated. It's and the same cycle repeats itself. It's over. It's why I'm just to me the American political system is so broken that there's no way to fix it. I think we should bring back the Whig Party. If I were to run, I would wear a powdered wig and be like, I'm the closest thing to the forefathers you've ever seen. I'd sit there in a powdered wig and be like, okay, this is what's happening now with a modern take with a suit and a powdered wig on my head and be like, hey, we're going back to the foundations of this country was founded upon. But I'm
going to have to show you this off air. In the meantime, for any of the listeners, go Google this. Daniel Vovak, V-O-V-A-K, God rest his soul, a guy I used to work for, ran for president on an obscure third-party thing, wearing the powdered wig and doing the whole thing that you were talking about.
That's amazing.
And God bless him, and Daniel, rest in peace, and I know you're in a better place, but Daniel, you'd be the first to admit you were kind of a crackpot, right, buddy? I don't think I'm besmirching the dead by saying this. Daniel was quite a character, to say the least.
To do that, you'd have to be.
Yeah, he did the thing with the powdered wig. He was wig guy. It's so funny that, you never knew this, but you're talking about the exact same stuff this guy did.
To me, it just shows the absurdity of where everything's at. So if that's the case, and you got these people out there okay, for example, there's an issue going on right now of Issue 3 in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And I am 100% in favor of what Issue 3 does. Going back, or they were talking about the debates. Mm-hmm. One of the issues that needs brought up that I want is prison reform and cannabis reform. Mm-hmm. Because those are 2 things right now that go hand in hand with each other that need change. Because it's okay, something's legal in 20 states medicinally, 4 states recreationally. It's on the ballot in Ohio. It's one of those things that people need to educated on it. Like we grew up in the Nancy, or I did. I'm a little bit younger than you, but you were the Nancy Reagan era.
Oh, I was in high school in those years.
The Nancy Reagan era, where it was blatantly propaganda lies that were spread throughout. And now it's like our argument, and like you know me, I've been on the side of the champion this for years. Where it's like our arguments are just scientific facts. They're just like it's like not. Is it something for everybody? No, but the benefits that do help people. Like I remember my grandmother when she had cancer, and I offered to get her some cannabis. I said, hey, you know, and she told me straight up, I would do that if it were legal. And that was kind of the moment that really hit my gun shoes to be like, okay, now this is something that, you know, that would benefit people. But then it goes into the differences with you get like, for example, I cause wars all the time on the Facebook with people like that are so like because issue 3 changes the state constitution in Ohio, amends that.
So did the casino thing too. We amend the Constitution at the drop of a hat.
Libertarians come in and like, oh no, we got to maintain the Constitution. But do you guys realize it's? I looked this up. It took me all 10 seconds. The Ohio Constitution has been ratified something like over like 35 times or something. I forget what the number is exactly, but like it started off as like 7,000 words long, and now it's like 44,000 words. It's like that's a lot of changes. Like you can't go with the whole this is what the Constitution is, because if that was the case, we'd still have slavery.
It's amazing because it was like a casino cartel monopoly in 2009. And I'm a big Dan Gilbert guy, but let's face facts. That's what it is.
That's what
it's the same thing we're looking to do here.
And
which
the best
is
part is
the best part
about this too. All these people, like I actually looked it up. I listen to WNIR talk radio all the time, and Couchburner actually was on there, and he actually like read the entire bill, and everyone's like, you know, only these 10 people are going to have the rights to grow, and it's like initially yes, but from there it's going to expand and include more people, and those 10 people that have the rights to grow are the ones that are paying for it. It's like, oh, do I want the wealthier to get wealthy? It's like, what do you think? Like, I think there's like your Constitution, like libertarians or whatever we want to call them think that like it should be like they should pass this and all of a sudden like everyone should have free reign. Like no, that should not be the case, because there's certain like rules and restrictions. I watched a great show called Weed Wars on Netflix where they talked about how, you know, people get busted because they're doing stupid stuff like growing it outside where kids can walk by and
right.
No, like it's like you don't just leave beer sitting around outside,
right?
And that's the misconception people
have.
Or
the a-holes that are doing the equivalent of meth labs with the whole thing of the distilling into the wax stuff, because that stuff's dangerous.
Yeah,
the processing.
It's like, you know, it needs to be done in a professional environment. That, you know, and I can't like really have a say so. I'm in favor for legalization, but at the same time, I'm not. Like, it goes against my I'm not voting campaign, which is like kind
of a conundrum.
It is kind of a conundrum, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what I mean. It's for a good cause, but at the same time, I just don't want to give any more fuel to the fire to the haters out there that hate on a plant, and I don't want it to be viewed as like because everyone I've talked to, the reason why they're voting no has nothing to do with what it's for. It's the side effect of it, because it's this legal monopoly thing, and again, that's politics where they write something in, and that's one of my another reason it has me so upset with, not upset, but just like I've lost interest in it.
Yeah.
Because it's only in this country do you get like, okay, for example, you should not kill children. Everybody agrees that we should not kill children, right?
Right.
That's a bad thing. Nobody wants to kill the kids. Kids are great. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we're passing a law that says there's no killing kids, but then at the same time someone will throw in something on the back end that says, but it's okay to run over puppies. It's like, wait, no. It's like, what does this have to do with that?
Right.
And it's why nothing ever gets done, and it's why we're in the state we're in, where everything is just, I don't want to say status quo. I don't know. I mean, I've reached that point now where I just don't know. We're the horrible teenagers, kids that have grown up in the rest of the world, our country, and it's like, I mean, you look at the stuff of we've done great contributions, and I love the United States of America. We've also introduced so much crap like GMOs. And stuff like that.
That's the one good thing about eating gluten-free is that it's less of that. I noticed that like so many things that are gluten-free are not GMO stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm so anti-GMO. I'm glad like stuff like Monsanto and all that stuff is getting like taken down, and people are recognizing this, and it just took enough of people to see like what this big issue is, and it's like, I mean, our country, people are like riddled with diseases that are like dying because of all this different crap we put in our bodies as later on we're going to have Nathan's hot dogs, which isn't crap at all, but it's delicious tasting. Just saying, throw that out there. So good.
Those are, but that's what's interesting, though, is that, what has long been, weed, the big outlaw accessory over the period of time, and now with this thing in Ohio and with issue 3, it's getting caught up in crony capitalism, just like everything else in the society.
Ain't
it's gotten
that life?
Sucked into the machine.
That's
Jake.
what happens, and all these people are protesting. Like, what? Like, you honestly think this is gonna this is bad for us? What's so bad about it? It's like, I mean, realistically, what is so? All their arguments, it's like, it modifies the state constitution. Okay, that gets modified all the time.
Yeah.
It allows you to grow at your house. I mean, you can grow your own. That's fine. You just got to pass, certain laws. I don't understand. I get the argument that people have against it, but at the same time, I just think they're nitpicky. That's just me.
Yeah.
I just think they're nitpicky, and it's like the whole, the Constitution gets changed. It got changed for the freaking casino, like you said. And, the world didn't end.
It's the same thing. With the marijuana cartel, the casino cartel, it's the same thing. And what's amusing to me is somebody who went to Ohio University down the road from Meigs County there. I am very amused to see what this is going to do to the economy of Meigs County.
Is that one of the potential growth
Meigs
sites?
County Gold was always one of the catchphrases down at school there. And let me tell you something, because that has probably been their biggest cash crop by far over a period of time. So what is the disruption, positive and negative, on the way of life in Meigs County going forward? I will be watching that with very amused eyes.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how stuff like that takes place. And for once, I would love to see Ohio move forward, because this is going to happen. I still believe this is going to be Barack Obama's last FU. Like, his one FU to all of his haters was the legalization of gay marriage, which, you know what, I'm okay with, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't affect me. I'm not gay and I'm not getting married, so it doesn't affect me one way or another. And everyone's like, the whole argument, well, you could just pretend to be gay and get married. You can pretend to be straight and get married too. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to,
you could pretend to,
that was one of the arguments was that how can they know that it's two people that are really in love? Why don't they just get married for the tax break benefits? If you're personally opposed to it, which I know some people are out there, but at the same time, don't do it.
I'm a Roman Catholic. I don't need to get into that. I'll refer anybody to the Pope. You want to know what the reasons are? I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you. Go ask the Pope. But it's a thing where, that's a battle that's been lost, I think, irretrievably. That the other side has won on that. But it's an interesting thing here.
I'm like the funny thing is, I'm actually anti-straight marriage, because if you look at the statistics, it's failed.
Well, there's
that's a joke, by the way.
There's been a lot of. No, I'm
an ordained minister.
Yeah,
so I actually marry people.
I was actually addressing that on an intellectual level, saying you were right, but no, that's
statistically, it has failed. 51% of marriages end in divorce.
Yeah, that's true. Supposedly that's going down. I guess I don't know. I hear it goes back and forth.
Although Gay Divorce Court is going to be one heck of an awesome show on Bravo. Can you just imagine that?
Who gets the bedazzler?
Oh, I just want that Carson guy from Queer Eye to the Straight Guy to be the judge. Oh man, that's right there. That's just begging for it. And the one guy from I forget his name, the actor that was in Independence Day, and what's his face from Mrs. Doubtfire.
I'm horrible at it.
Yeah, I didn't forget his name, but let him be in and be like the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Look at he just wore the wrong color plaid today. I mean, he wore white pants after Labor Day. That's just wrong.
Well, one of the things you mentioned before too, just to bring everything around full circle here, you mentioned about prison reform, legal reform, whatever, and I didn't want to let this wrap without getting to that point, because I've come to sort of a pessimistic point of view in the last couple of days here, just with some of the things I've seen, because I too kind of come from the point of view of these are some of the things Rand Paul's been talking about, and I look at it, and particularly as it gets to policing of communities and everything like that. And I'm somebody that's always been very, very, very pro-police. But I mean, I'm not somebody that looks to find corruption. There have been times where I've had it sort of put right in front of me. There was somebody that used to be a City of Cleveland cop and was telling me all this corrupt stuff they used to do, and he was laughing about it and expected me to laugh along with him. So I hear stuff like that, and I kind of get disheartened. So I've sort of come from the point of view of maybe it's a good thing that the pendulum is swinging back in the other direction here, and maybe we're going to be more attentive to these issues and everything. I look in the last couple of days, crime rates now are going up again, and the police are now, it's a thing of like, well, we're afraid to get out of our cars. And I have come around to the pessimistic point of view that we can either have the big crackdown we've had for the last 20 years where we bust everybody's head and throw them in jail, or we have an unsafe society. I want to be the idealist that says we can do things right, but it's just like,
unfortunately,
I think I'm not living in the real world if I think that.
I'm with you. Unfortunately, I think we're too far gone as a society.
Yeah.
That we can't come back.
That's
and
what I'm
I hate
thinking.
to say that, but
Yeah.
I mean,
it's horrible.
barring like a zombie apocalypse, like we need like some kind of major change. And I've thought this way for a while, but like, and I have a whole rant on to like the way things have become the way that they are that we can get into it sometime. But it was like basically all has to do with like we mentioned like the policing and like inner cities and stuff like that.
Yep.
If you look from like the 1970s until now, how much things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
In of like the 1970s, there were still manufacturing jobs in like the inner cities. Like we're in Akron, Ohio right now, which was the rubber capital of the world. There was inner city jobs. There were jobs that were factory jobs that guys would go like for lack of a better term, like your urban areas.
Yep.
That his dad would have a job. He'd go to work. He'd work 40, 50, 60 hours to provide for his family. Would come home. They'd have kids. The 3, 4, 5 kids, whatever it was back in the day. Because apparently the only thing you could do, it's kind of funny with technology now. People have less kids. I don't know if they got smarter about this, or they just realized, wait, this is expensive. I can't afford all these children. I don't know. Some do, some don't. There's still some seven kids with 7 different babies' daddies, but that's a whole other argument. Which goes into this actually. You had these jobs. Well, all of a sudden, the upper echelon of the bigger business owners up there, I like to call them the man, decided that it was cheaper to ship these jobs to foreign countries. So all of a sudden you get these guys who were essentially like high school education, some not even high school education. My father, people like my father, that were my dad has worked at a machine shop for over 40 years now. And he is a rare breed of that. That do stuff like this. These guys, when you get to like the 80s and into the 90s, all these jobs are going away. Well, next thing you know, along the way, Dad, maybe when Dad would get off work, maybe he'd go to the bar and have a drink or something. Well, now Dad doesn't have to go to work anymore. Next thing you know, Dad's drinking because he doesn't have a job.
Right. And
trying to find jobs for these guys, they all get misplaced. It led to a separation of as the generations went on, where all of a sudden it was like, and my grandfather taught me this, the way his marriage lasted so long, my grandparents never saw each other. He worked second shift, she worked first shift, whatever, she was home taking the kids. They never saw each other.
Okay.
So it's easy to be married for 35 years, somebody you never see him. You see him for like 15 minutes a week, long enough to have another kid.
Right.
That's and unfortunately, that's a lot of times that's how, marriages worked back in the day.
Right.
Well, these guys are staying home, whatnot. All of a sudden they realize they don't really like each other.
Right.
So it brings out the worst because, if you're not working or doing something, she's going to be nagging him, he's going to be nagging at her. It leads to the kids see this, and as the generations go on, you fast forward to the next generation, there isn't that family unit,
right,
which is such a powerful thing. That I know we both grew up with that, and not that it's like, the end-all, be-all, but next thing you know, you got these kids that are craving either daddy's love or mommy's love, whatever, so they go out to find it wherever they can, and then that generation of kids is having kids.
Yep.
And like just recently, did you see on the news, there was a Circle K got like mob style attacked, and all
That's
these
right.
kids that was right up the street right here.
Ooh,
it was like
really?
right up the road.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
where that happened at.
Okay.
And it's our society. It goes back to like your comment about the policing.
Yeah.
Due to like the generations have come down, like due to like welfare and other stuff, the kids nowadays, inner city kids, they grow up with the mindset of, well, I'm expected to be a criminal. I'm expected to screw up. So I'm just going to do what they expect me to do.
Right.
And the police at the same time, it's like, I'm expecting you to be this, to be a thug, to be a criminal.
Yep.
And it's just like this vicious cycle that dates all the way back. Really, you can blame it on the fact that all these jobs and everything were taken away, that there was no positive influence. Like, back in the day, it was like, okay, my dad worked hard, busts his butt every day to provide, or my mom busts her butt every day to provide. Over the course of time, all these things have gone away. These jobs and everything have gone by the wayside, and that positive influence is taken away, where it gets to the point where, you got back to talk about the abortion topic. You got selling sex, and next thing you know, you got like somebody has 5 kids with 5 different people.
Yep.
And they come in and it's like, where do you belong in that
Right.
scenario?
Yeah.
You end up fighting and fending for yourself. And I think it's like if we could bring back like the core of. Like, I always wanted to go back to, like, the 1950s and 60s. And even back, then,
Yeah.
well, I mean, for us.
Economically, anyways, it was a great time.
And stuff like that, it's like, nowadays, everything it's just changed. And I think we've partially, not us personally,
Right.
but society has created what this stuff is. And next thing, this situation like Baltimore, Maryland,
Yep.
where they've flat out said, like I watch Vice, which I highly recommend anybody who's never seen Vice to watch Vice. Like the police officers have flat out said, yeah, we could go in and target the upper middle class white neighborhoods and probably find the exact same amount of drug activity, but they have lawyers that will come in and get them off. In the inner city, they don't have that, so they're told straight up target these people, send them in the system. They get public defenders. Public defenders say just plea bargain or something. Even if you did the crime or not,
Right.
it doesn't really matter because you're in the system. Once you're in the system, it's a vicious cycle, and that's what needs to be reformed because they're not even given the whole point of prison was to give yourself a chance to rehabilitate, but it doesn't work like that anymore.
No.
I mean, there's certain people out there who it does work for, and that's great. But a lot of times, I mean, once you're in the system, it's so easy. You just get trapped in this cycle of over and over and over again. And once somebody finds out you're in prison, they don't trust you because you're a convict.
Well, exactly. And you know what's funny is that minus the examples of some of the violence you were talking about with some of the inner city, the funny thing is you and I, both fans of the show Justified, we could be talking about like rural Appalachia for a lot of the same things generationally. Families that get the draw coming in the mail. Generations living off the welfare check in poor white Appalachia. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. That part of it is kind of universal in this country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's just, I mean, it's something. I'm glad to hear that it's something that's finally being a topic that's being addressed because for the longest time it's been out of sight, out of mind. Like,
Right.
And a whole nother issue is the privatized prison system, which is just wrong. That is legal slavery, and I don't care how they slice it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you get judges out there that send. I mean, there was one example in Pennsylvania where the judge owned stock in the prison company, and he was sending kids to like 18 months of juvenile detention for being 16 and getting a speeding ticket.
Right.
It's like, wait, what? That's just wrong,
Right.
And you get like now prisons are owned by corporations on Wall Street. They can make $40,000 a year per prisoner they have in there, so they throw people and lock them up for mandatory minimums. They talk about this on Vice for mandatory minimums, and these people they don't have lawyers. They get public defenders who, and the public defenders are sure work hard, but have so many caseloads that they just do the mandatory minimum. They plea out on something, so next thing you know, there's people that were sentenced to jail for life for back in the day having possession of one joint.
Well, and that's
And
the
it's
thing
like
too.
you're not hurting anybody, and then you send them in there, and next thing you know, they end up with hardened criminals, and you create something worse.
I am on a lot of economic and government issues. On a lot of them, not all of them. I am fairly libertarian. I believe in privatization, but prisons give privatization a bad name because it doesn't even save the taxpayers anything. Ideally, privatization stems from, okay, we're going to farm out to the private sector stuff where it can be more cost efficient. Free enterprise works better than the government, et cetera, et cetera. The whole prison thing, that's just a conflict of interest because, like you said, there's the interest in keeping them in there. When you get into that stuff, when you get into the public defender bills, you're not even saving the taxpayers anything. That's the one area of privatization I am completely opposed to.
You're not, and it also just shows that when you get when you got judges that can buy stock in companies in prison, it's like that's insider trading.
Yeah,
and it's with human
interest.
life.
Yeah,
it's insider trading with human lives. That it's like people that don't belong there and shouldn't be there. Okay, if you're a violent offender, go to. I don't want you on the streets.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're not harming anybody, that shouldn't be the case.
Right.
And unfortunately, we have such a high prisons. If you look at other countries like Amsterdam, that use such great examples, it's like they don't have heroin epidemic there. That's another thing too. Oh God, I mean, we could have a whole show on that, especially with the amount of people that have dropped dead. I know of personally as a result of the whole heroin thing. That's something that definitely needs a crackdown. I actually talked to a potential mayor candidate, my former high school teacher, Mr. Horrigan. He's running for mayor. Vote Horrigan. one of the questions we asked him, it was young Akron leaders had a meeting at Thirsty Dog Brewery, and we asked him about, what do you do about the heroin epidemic? Because that's something like I've got no problem ratting out anybody. Like if it's getting to the point now where it's street justice.
Right.
Like if somebody knows someone who's doing it, that's dealing it. There's people out there that want to lynch them in the streets because you're murdering people.
That's how it should be.
Like no matter how you slice it, you're murdering people.
Yeah.
You know you have stuff that's killing people, and you're selling it anyway.
Yep.
That is murder.
Yep.
And the 10th degree, that is what murder is. I mean,
yeah.
You know they're going to do it, and you're allowing it to happen. I know of offhand. I know 5 people that I knew personally, or I was one person away from this year alone that have
holy crap
died as a result of this. Yeah, it's constant, and it's something that's an issue that needs attacked. And like to me, marijuana is not an issue anymore. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's not even in the same level of that. That's drugs. This is a plant that has scientifically proven medicinal values,
The heroin thing, it's a thing where it's classic whack-a-mole because the priority...
I never thought of it that way, but you're right.
4 or 5 years ago, what were you hearing about in this state? The pill mills.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, too, because I've seen some other stuff. I've got a buddy who's a lawyer down in Mount Vernon who's pretty well versed on the subject, my good friend Scott Pullins, and I've gotten some wisdom from him on this. It's a thing where it's just like we're getting rid of the pill mills, so then now people are back on heroin. It's as we have gone through, we've gotten bleaker and bleaker on this. We started on the great fun topic of pro wrestling, and our friend Ryan Ward. I mean,
I think we should bring it back. Hell in a Cell's coming up in like 20 minutes.
Let's do that. Yeah.
We should end on an upscale topic. Then again, we're talking Hell in a Cell. Oh my God, this could be worse.
Slashing their wrists by the end of this thing here.
Oh, they were doing that at the beginning. they saw our name on the marquee, and they're like, if they're going down this torture ride, it's their own fault.
Outstanding. Well, I mean, is it a happier note when we're looking at some of the main events involving the Demon Kane and the Undertaker?
Hey, you know what? I'm actually looking forward to this show tonight.
Okay.
I think it'll be fun, or it could be a train wreck, but I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're recording this before it happens, so everybody listening will know whether or not we ended up.
Yeah, we're right or not. Obviously, in the main event, you can tell it's Sunday. I'm supporting my team, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
So. There's no reason for the Undertaker to win in the main event, in my opinion. It makes no sense.
Right.
I mean, unless you're like, I want Brock to destroy him, and then the ending to be, is this it? Is he done? Like, and tease it. And like, I actually want him to be done. Like, I want this to be kind of like Steve Austin. I don't want this big hoopla, Undertaker's last match, because it leaves that I want him to go into the Hall of Fame in Texas as like the headliner. But I want him to be like, the Undertaker gets destroyed, and they don't know if it's his last match. They never announce it as his last match, so there's always that aura, because that's like the Undertaker's thing. Is he's that aura? He's an essence. So there's always that aura of he could come back, he could come back, and he just never does.
Okay.
He eventually starts doing stuff on the network and sit down, and he started doing that now.
Yeah.
But he comes back, he goes into the Hall of Fame, and that's it, and he's done. I mean, he's had a heck of a run, and what better way to go out than to get destroyed by the new Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, who essentially has taken up that role as like the mythical beast creature that that is the unbeatable no-sell machine, because that is what Brock is, and
right? As
he should be booked. They finally booked him right. Took him long enough. And I just, that's me personally. I think that's how I go. I have, Brock just destroys him. And at the end of it, he shows him respect, and the Undertaker's done.
Well, either way, this supposedly is the last appearance of the year for both of them. At the same time, John Cena's going away. At the same time, Vince McMahon is micromanaging the product every week more and more because the ratings are just going down and down further. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, what I think we would all hope for is just like, hey, give Cesaro the big push now, and just like do the things they would have done if it was in 1998.
You're funny, Cesaro.
Well, that's what we're hoping.
He's Swiss. He's not American. Who's going to cheer for him? I love Cesaro, by the way. I don't think that's going to happen. But
no,
throw it out there for you then. Who answers the open challenge?
Well, open chat. People are going to know when they hear this because we're calling it ahead. We're doing this ahead of time. You know what? Just because the first night back he's advertised for it to be Sheamus, I'm going to go total missionary position and say it's Sheamus.
You're going to go Sheamus to answer the U.S. title open challenge?
Yeah.
I think he's wrestling right now on the pre-show, so I don't know if I'm going to.
Well,
I'm going to go with, it's got to be somebody that, that the to generate some movement. And if he's healthy, I like the Daniel Bryan idea. Don't know if he's healthy, but if he's healthy, why not? He's a top face. You can get in there, bam, can do something good. If he's not healthy, it's not Samoa Joe because he's at the NXT show. It's not Tyler Breeze because he's at the NXT show. But my pick was Tyler Breeze till I found out he's at the NXT show at Aftershock Festival. So that rules him out. I mean, Finn Balor's up at that NXT show, so it rules all those guys out of it.
Funniest rumor I've heard, AJ Styles. Yeah, like they're going to put the
James
face,
Storm is one I'd be okay with.
like they're going to put the face of Impact Wrestling over the face of the WWE.
That would be funny.
That would be very funny.
I don't think it's going to be AJ Styles, but I mean James Storm is another one that something that'll get a reaction. But I'll go with the shocker and say Daniel Bryan if I'm right, or you can take the safe bet since he's not doing anything. Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, could be. But
you need to be a face because they don't have any faces.
Yeah,
none.
Yeah,
name one. There's none.
Presumably, if they're taking the title off him, it's going to be a put him out of action revenge angle for when Cena comes back.
No, not really, because he's already said I'm not going to be here. They've publicly acknowledged he's taking time off.
Well,
it's not like the old days where you get beat up and taken out at an angle. Oh no, it's just John Cena's taking time off.
But it goes against the whole.
Or
thing.
he could just win and take the belt with him. That would surprise me.
That's the whole thing. It's just like U.S. Open Challenge. The U.S. title needs to be defended every week. Except for the next 2 months. Peace out.
Yes,
that doesn't exactly fit, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they
I agree with you.
into a corner. Well, here's the thing, too. Let's leave it on this note. We pride ourselves on this show, hopefully, on being entertaining and insightful here. Something that I don't hear ever pointed out about Cesaro. I'm going to bring this up, and I think you're probably going to agree with me. This doesn't get brought up enough. When we keep hearing about, first of all, again, I don't buy that he doesn't have enough charisma, mic skills, whatever. But
Vince just doesn't like him.
Here's the thing, though.
That's all it is.
But here's the thing. He has something in common with Vince that I would think Vince would appreciate. Vince is maybe top 5 all-time at facials. Cesaro is very good, too. He is so expressive. You talk about conveying whatever you want to convey just with your face. Cesaro is so great at that, and I never hear it get talked about, Jake.
Again, yeah, I agree with you on that. He is great at it.
Yeah.
He's like the new internet darling. He's the one that everybody loves, so they won't push him because they love him. It makes no sense. It's some ass backwards logic, but that it's happened in every generation. And I just like Cesaro's hairstyle personally. I'm a big fan. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, suave people worldwide have been adopting it the same way that he has.
Trendsetters.
Well, it's going to be a pleasure watching the pay-per-view with you, so I appreciate you having me over to do that, and I appreciate the chance once again to catch up on one of these omnibus sessions with you, Jake, from pro
these
wrestling,
are fun.
Food, MMA, politics, back to wrestling. I mean, not many people I can do that big of a loop with on the program here. Not many people in our family of contributors.
Next time we should do comic books.
Ooh, we could.
Yeah.
I'd have to bone up a little bit first, but my man Jason Jones can school me a little bit. I'd get ready to sit down with you and do it. I'm not that much of an aficionado, but that'll give me something to aim for, Jake. I'll get up to snuff, and we can do that.
Sounds good, my friend. It's an honor to be on the lounge one more time, and I'm going to go make me some Nathan's hot dogs. Gluten-free, might I add. Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this omnibus edition of FDH Lounge mini episode number 627.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, Waitresses, Strippers, Bartenders, Garbage Men, Janitors, Microwave Popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and The Periodic Table of Elements.